This topic is design by evolution. I'd like to talk to you about the design of your body and the evidence for evolution that exists in the way your body is built. If we look all over the human body, what we often find are kind of glitches. They're weird little design choices, bad ideas, imperfections. And in fact, this is really important to understanding how evolution has produced us over time. In fact, the flaws and the imperfections are so important that I don't even really like the word design. I think it misleads us. It makes us think that there's some kind of plan or maybe even a designer out there who's sitting behind the scenes programming all of this stuff. Evolution has no plan. When it built the human body, it was really working from no design at all. Instead, it's organic processes working over millions of years that have produced this wonderful creation. Let me tell you what I mean. I'll start with your eyes. The eyes are actually really poorly designed if you look at them from an engineering point of view. The layer of nerves that comes out of the retina, instead of being on the back of the retina, is in fact on the front of the retina. So to get to your retina, light has to pass through the nerves. It's as though the cabling for the detectors was put in front of the detectors. That makes your eye less sensitive. But it also creates another structural problem, which is that all those nerves wind up on the inside of your eyeball, and so they have to kind of come together in a bundle and go out somewhere. This creates a little blind spot in your retina. You're not aware of it because your brain tricks you into thinking that your retina is one smooth, complete picture. But in fact, if you know where to look, you can see that you have a blind spot. If you were a design student and you brought in the design for the eyes, your instructor would probably say, back to the drawing board, why'd you put the nerves on the inside? You could do all kinds of other things too to make the eyes better. You could give us a bit of vision in the ultraviolet spectrum like reindeer have. Reindeer can see lichen and food. They can even see predators' urine on the ice, when to us we would be snowblind because they can see into the ultraviolet part of the spectrum. Or you could see into a bit of the infrared part of the visual spectrum, which show us heat sources. You could walk around at night and be able to see creatures out there because their bodies give off heat. Another flaw in the human body is the design of the human knee. It's held together by ligaments. It's the bones themselves just sit one on top of the other. It makes the knee especially liable to tearing. If you were an engineer and you saw this, you'd say, look, this is not structurally strong enough. Given the force that the body is going to put on the knee, and given the fact that you have no spare legs, well, it's a terrible design. Every time you're at a sporting event and you see some poor athlete crumpled on the ground, sometimes with a torn ACL or other ligament, simply because of the way they turned when they ran, well, you should realize that's part of the problem with the knee's engineering. The reason for it is the knee started off as a hinge joint in a fish's fin, and for the purpose of the fish, that structure is totally adequate. Sometimes evolutionary theorists refer to these kinds of weird design solutions as Kluges. It's an engineering term, and it means something that's unnecessarily complicated. It's a kind of jerry-rigged solution to a problem, like when you gaffer tape an antenna to the side of your car. It's not really well designed, but it's sort of put together from what you've got. Some people like to talk about how they think that the body is an example of intelligent design. But in fact, when you look at all these details, you have to kind of come to the same conclusion that Don Weiss does. Don Weiss is a former geologist who likes to argue with creationists. And he said it's not an example of intelligent design. Actually, what we have is an example of incompetent design. And that's precisely the fingerprints of evolution. In the next topic, we're going to talk about some of the errors that this kind of thinking can lead us to, the worst kind of errors for thinking about evolution.